no equipment was available commercially, so I made my own racks, and that's a homemade rack, which again will have been used at various places, include going through all the stages until it's used on Gaping Gull main shaft, which is where that will have been used several times.
Nothing around in some place.
How much you got? You got enough for, say, 4 or 5 fills?
Yeah.
How long do you reckon it'll take us?
Depends how it goes, really, but it could be 20 hours at least.
Pierre St Martin, what actually prompted the expedition there?
I think it was the people. We didn't really realise it at the time, but that group we got together then, I think, was a very
amazing.
good group. Yeah.
Again, people came to Leeds University
Yeah.
because of the caving rather than for the courses. Several people, I think Tony White was one and Pooh was another one.
Yeah, I was another.
Came to Leeds University because of the caving club.
Yeah. And the team that was out at the PSM was a very strong team by all international standards. We were doing 30-hour trips, weren't we?
Oh yeah, well this is a good model for what we were going to do abroad really. You have small teams travelling very light but as safely as possible.
And
That's the idea.
a group backup
Yes.
on the surface. So if you had a problem, you had got backup on the surface.
There was only one thing that slowed you down. Me filming.
Oh, that's all right, Sid. We were willing.
Especially carrying the batteries.
The batteries.
Yeah, you only forgot the film a couple of times. So don't worry. So-
One of the problems in this sort of country is that you can get within feet of a huge feature, the cave entrance for example, and not even be able to see it. And we were now beginning to realise the problems we faced. What was a new experience for all of us was actually having to cut our way down the shaft. And it was possible that hacking away through all this undergrowth, you could actually cut your own rope if you weren't careful.
New Guinea was a very off-the-wall sort of idea at that time. For people to go that far, for that length of time, nearly 6 months, into one of the most primitive places on Earth, looking for caves.
Well, it still is, I think. It's one of the most ambitious expeditions there's ever been. When you look at the wide reach of it.
Well, nearly 6 months.
And the length of time of the area we covered.
24 people, 6
amazing.
months. Ridiculous, really. In retrospect, a lot of silly things, but overall, it was a great training exercise.
Sure was.
And we stuck with it. I mean, practically all those people who are still living are still caving.
Exactly.
And they're still involved in some way, like we are. And
It's amazing. And I'm still making films all these
exactly.
years
Well, you're still involved, yeah.
Yeah.
And Frank Binney, I was in
Okay.
touch with Frank. Frank, he's still involved. And, I don't know whether you know about Kevin Wild and his National Park
Yes, I
project.
read all the stuff, yeah.
And,
He's doing, yes.
And, Kevin is trying to set up a national park above the Hindenburg Wall in the Telefomin area. Mm-hmm. And he's doing a fantastic job.
He is, yeah.
And he's really passionate about doing it.
Yeah, we picked the right man there, didn't we?
Well, he was good, yeah. Well, I don't know whether we picked him or he picked us, actually.
It worked, anyway.
Well,
Yes.
but, one of the things it taught me, New Guinea, is working with these so-called primitive people. And, they were very, very much like us, weren't they?
They were indeed.
And they were good ones and the layabouts. And,
Yes.
But they were being paid next to nothing, tin of rice and...
Oh, it's amazing. Amazing, yes.
A bag of rice and a tin of sardines a day. And
Well, I remember one day there was a Porter rebellion up on the top of the Barmans, and Crabby came to see me and he said, oh, we're having all this trouble. And I said, what are you arguing about? And it turned out they were arguing about sixpence. Yeah.
6 old pennies.
Yes,
Yeah,
and I said,
probably.
this is ridiculous. Let's just settle it and
Just
we'll
pay
talk
them,
about it
yeah.
again when we get them back down to camp. Because they put their loads down and wouldn't move.
But
I remember Kevin, because he used to say to us, you know, don't pay them more. We were saying, oh, we can pay more than that.
Yes.
And he was saying, don't, because it'd inflate the local economy. His job, he didn't mix with the guys as much as we did.
No.
And he frowned on some of the things that we were doing. I remember translating English dirty songs into Pidgin.
No, I didn't like that, did
And it was a magic time, and I think it had a huge impact on everybody that went there.
Sure did.
Yeah, well, you only forgot the film a couple of times.
Beyond the dry campsite, you drop back down into the river, and this must be one of the most impressive underground rivers there are. You continue through clear and shallow water, occasionally deep, occasionally wide, and always impressive. The passage is very high above you, and the whole feeling of the place is one of grandeur. And so the cave continues for nearly a mile, with the passage rarely less than 30 metres high or wide.
On the back of New Guinea 75, we got an invite to go on this trip to Borneo. And we'd been looking, Ben Lyon,
I'd already been looking at it.
he'd been
yes.
looking at the aerial photographs, and the Army Caving Club knew of this area in Borneo. And I got a phone call. Tony Waltham was, I don't know whether Tony got the call first or I got the call first. And I said, Mulu, that rings a bell, Mulu. And then I talked to Ben, and Ben said, wow, you know, that is the area that we were trying to organise an expedition to. So on the back of New Guinea 75 in 1975, we got Mulu 1978, entirely organised by the Royal Geographical Society. So 5 of us went on this completely organised expedition. All we had to do was go caving, but they provided absolutely everything, whereas in New Guinea we'd had to provide everything, and we spent at least half our time, I probably spent a lot more than half my time, organising and getting things in the right place at the right time. The Royal Geographical Society just did everything, and it was the opposite end of the spectrum. I mean, it was wonderful, wasn't it? Really,
Yes, it was.
It
was like going to a party that somebody else had organised.
And then the caves were just out of this world. I remember I did a lot with Dave, and I remember one day surveying through this thing, and we were exploring it and surveying it, and we sat down at the end of it and we said, why us? I mean, this is just unbelievably spectacular.
It's like heaven.
This is one of the most spectacular passages in the world, and we've discovered it and we've surveyed it. And thinking back, it was fate, because Dave in particular put in so much work in his life aimed at that sort of thing that nobody in the world was more worthy of having that experience. And it was fantastic. It was lovely. And
But you never know where life's going to lead you in caving. There's a lot of luck in it, really. And we've had a lot of luck, haven't we?
yeah, we have, yeah. But it's like the golfer who the media were criticising him and saying, you're a very lucky golfer. And he said, I am, he said, but I've discovered the more I practice, the better my luck.
Bang on.
And I think there's an element of that. I mean, these two in particular had spent thousands and thousands of hours surveying caves, which other people had already surveyed. And they occasionally discovered some new passage, and they completely earned this bonus at the end of it. And it carries on, you know.
Yes,
Absolutely, yeah.
it's carrying on now.
When you look back, we were in a bubble, and all our friends were people with similar ideas, similar enthusiasm for the caves and for discovery, and that was magic. And you didn't realise that it was so special, but it was. And we're very lucky to have lived through that. and we've all had amazing lives out of it. So, you know, we're so lucky to have done that.
I'm a drug addict. My drug is exploring caves. I'm addicted to it. I can't stop doing it. That's why I'm going in 2 weeks' time. I've got to do a bit more. I've got to have another fix. I'm so sorry, but I've got to have another fix.
Find more.
I will. We
Find
will.
more.
We will. I mean, I've spent my life trying to
You're
convince
right.
people that it's a worthwhile thing to do. And we are our own worst enemy. And I've been really conscious that and reading through some of the journals I've read through, recently, it's all squeezing and up to our neck in water
and stuff, yeah.
and just a nose above the water and an occasional death.
It's not all like that.
And it's not like that really. I mean, we do it because we enjoy doing it, and we do it because we explore fantastic things, and and the extra twist now is the fantastic science, and the caves are a laboratory of the past,
and especially cave dating. Dating stalagmites and dating deposits in caves.
Yeah.
This is all very important.
And it's old, much older than we originally thought. So where we were working in thousands of years, we're now working in millions of years. And I go into caves with people who aren't normally cavers, and I say, you've got to put your mind back 250,000 years now.
That's right.
And nothing that you're looking at is recent. It's all really old.
It wasn't like it is now. There were rivers running through here. And all this sort of
absolutely,
stuff,
And if you go and talk to a women's institute or something, they're all sitting there thinking these guys are mad. They're absolutely mad.
They're all covered in mud.
Overall, is caving a dangerous sport, would you say?
No. It's just that occasionally things go a little bit awry.
Statistically, it's pretty safe. There's two things that are a problem. One is people go beyond their knowledge zone, and I mean we've had so much experience that we shouldn't do that. We know we can look at a cave and say whether it will ever flood or not. We can occasionally be wrong, but generally we've got a pretty good idea. And and novices are the ones who largely get into problems.
And with leads, we used to, if you've got a difficult problem underground, you meet it with your best person in the party. So if there's a difficult climb to do, your best climber does it first and shows everybody else how to do it and gives them a top rope up the climb. And again, if you have a wet pitch, you send your best person on wet pitches down the pitch first, and they assess it and say, right, it's okay. You may almost drown, but you'll be okay. We can do it.
The other thing, of course, is that the media love it. So you have 30 fatalities in the Alps with climbers every year. If you have one caver, it's mega news. And we just had one in Turkey. And mega news.
Yes,
but there's loads all the time of climbers doing exactly the same things, no publicity at all. So the media loves caves rescue. It's an ongoing story which often doesn't have a good conclusion, and the media love it. But our era has a very good safety record. There's not many of our colleagues who have perished underground. I mean, we're clearly getting to an age now where they're perishing anyway.
Yes,
And
from
I always
other
say
causes.
that largely, we are, because of the caving, we're healthier than somebody like a banker.
Oh yes, it's overweight, yes.
And if you talk statistics among cavers and the statistics among bankers, for instance, there'd probably be more bankers die young than there are cavers.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. I think we're happier as well. I like to think we're happier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how old are we all?
I'm 6 months off 80.
78.
Nearly 76.
Yeah. Well, I'm older than all of you. I'm 86 and still making films.